loved being pregnant. I loved being pregnant. I was a great pregnant lady. I loved the stretchy pants. I felt great. My hair was incredible. My skin was better than it's ever been in my entire life. I loved it. And my new best friends were Ben and Jerry. I ate ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, I just was into Ben and Jerry's. And the only problem was that my surgeon's nurse practitioner, who I saw at the office, when I went in one day, she said, well, you know, after I stepped on the scale, you know, I would really prefer to see you at this weight, not at 6 months, but at 9. You know, I was a little like, oh, you know, but hormones being what they are, I wasn't too fazed by it. But then she said, so what's your pregnancy plan? I said, well, you know, I was thinking, I'm going to have a nurse midwife, and I'll be at the hospital, but, you know, I really want to try natural childbirth. And she goes, oh, I really discourage women from doing that because it's just so hard for their husbands to see their wives in pain. I think it's the last thing on most women's minds. You all right? You need a sandwich or anything? You hungry? Could someone get him some ice water, please? That was the last time I ever went to that office. Ever. So I love being pregnant, but there were some things I didn't anticipate, some things that weren't in the handbooks, like, you know, you're a fertility goddess when you're pregnant. And I did not anticipate, you know, some of the reactions that you get from men. So I go to Swedish Hospital downtown for a class. And I was about, I think I was about 7 months pregnant. Beautiful spring day. And it's like 65 degrees, and you know, summer's coming, and I'm in this class, and they gave us all these life-size looking baby dolls. And the whole idea is we were supposed to carry these around with us. We could hold them during the class and pretend to bathe them and diaper them, and then have them with us for the entire day, including going out to lunch wherever we went. We were supposed to keep them on our lap. And so, you know, lunchtime comes, and I'm like, to hell with that. So, you know, I stick my baby in a little bag and march out the door and go to some Thai restaurant around the corner, where I see another couple with their baby like face down on the chair. I'm like, and I have my Thai food, and I'm feeling just blissed out, and I'm standing on the corner, and you know, go back to class, I'm standing there, and this sweet little old guy walks up to me. And he sees the baby in the bag, and it does look like a baby. So he's a little freaked out. So he sees the baby in the bag, and he's like, oh, this is your baby? And I said, oh, it's a doll, and I'm in this class. And he goes, you're in the class. He says, so you have a boy or girl? Boy or girl? And I said, oh, I'm going to have a boy. Oh, that is so nice. That is so nice. And how many months? And I said, well, I'm about 7 months now. He goes, oh, this is so nice. You know, because the pregnant ladies, I love the pregnant ladies. And you know, the 7 to 8 months are hard to find. The 7 to 8 months are hard to find because, you know, the fucking, it is so warm and tight. And I'm not kidding you, I am out to here. And I start to like waddle across the grass and put my baby in my bag. He's like, you are married? You have boyfriend? And, you know, I wanted to do the natural childbirth thing, and I kind of had 3 birth experiences. The first one was the normal kind of water breaking and, you know, all the excitement and getting on the ferry boat and going over to the city and being told, you know what, don't go to the hospital right away, walk around. So I go eat the Indian food and walk and throw up the Indian food, come back to the hospital. And I did this for a while. And finally they said, you know, sweetheart, you're not really dilating the way we want you to dilate, so we're going to give you this thing called Pitocin. Now, you know, first and only kid, and I really wanted to have natural childbirth, so I asked, can I have the Pitocin without an epidural? Which is sort of like saying, hey, I'd like to be hit by a Mack truck. I did the Pitocin, I was cross-eyed. I did for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And finally, the nurse is like, sweetheart, you know, we need to give you an epidural. This is not working. And I know other women have said the same thing. I've heard other moms mention this to me. I fell in love with this man, the anesthesiologist. A total stranger. I look like hell. I'm like, oh, I'm cross-eyed with pain. I'm like, I love you. Oh my gosh. And I remembered pain goes away so quickly. I was like, oh, because I just had to chill out. I had worked too hard and it wasn't happening and time was of the essence. And so I'm sitting there in bed and a new nurse comes on staff. And we later learned that she was not well liked by anybody, and later including us. And I thought I was being punked. I swear I thought I was being punked. Because the first thing she says, she walks in the room and she looks at the heart rate monitor and she goes, I don't know why you put me in charge of this kind of stuff. I'm terrible with equipment. And then, I'm trying to chill out, and they wheel this woman in next door, and the room next to us, and I think this is child number 3 for her, and I can hear her screaming through the walls. She is like, get it out of me! Get it the fuck out of me! No exaggeration. I'm like, shambhala, get it the fuck out of me! And it's funny because I reflect back on it now, and I cannot believe, and I think a lot of people feel this way, I cannot believe they let us leave the hospital. Really. I remember, we thought we had it all together, and we're walking towards the garage, and it starts to dawn on me. Like, we have absolutely no idea what we're doing. That walk to the garage was just like, and it was like, Tony, before we left the hospital, the surgeon talked to us, kind of like the exit talk, speech, whatever they give you. And I remember my husband said, so is there anything that you give us before we go? Some kind of information or book? And he said, you mean like a manual? No. We got him home and he was a little bologna loaf. And sweet and quiet and adorable. And then about 3 weeks in, he got colic. And if you've ever had a kid with colic, oh my gosh, it's hell. It's absolute hell. I remember I would go to bed at night and it was like a zombie movie. The sun would start to set and I'd be like, no, it's getting dark outside. And all I could see was this like long stretch of me and the baby. Crying. It was just living hell. Someone finally, bless their hearts, guided us towards this book called The Happiest Baby on the Block. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, and it's this strict protocol of you take the baby and you wrap them up like a burrito, and I'm serious, like tight. Wrap them up tightly and stick a pacifier in their mouth, and then you hold them towards you and you shush them really hard. Shh, shh. And we did this religiously. I remember my arms were like, I was like, ah. And it got to the point where I would hear someone else's baby cry and I'd just start to do this. It was years. I'm not kidding. Oh, God, that was hell. We went into such shock after we have a kid. I really do think there needs to be halfway houses for new parents. And even if it's not just a new parent, even people who just had their second or third kid, because you were so shell-shocked. And I planned it all out. I thought about this a lot. I thought about it when I was in that state of mind. I think it needs to be like staffed by retired old grannies, lonely old deaf grannies. And I think there's a lot of them out there. And you walk in and someone takes the baby immediately and like goes to another wing of the building. So it happens immediately. And then they take you and they walk you to a quiet, padded room with a full bar. And they have these big rocking chairs there. And then you sit in one of those grannies' lap and she rocks you to sleep. We need to hear things like, it's gonna be okay. Your hair will grow back. You got enough breast milk, honey. Don't you worry. And I think for men, you'll have sex again. Could be 6 months to a year, but it'll happen. So back to the hospital. So I have been, so I've been laboring for, God knows how long. I did the Pitocin without the epidural, and then I had the epidural, and I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed till finally, hours, finally this woman says, honey, this baby is not coming out that way. And she said, we're gonna have to do a C-section. And you know what? I surrendered. And they wheeled me into this room, and bright lights, and it was like, the symbolism was not lost on me. I mean, they tie you down to this table. They tie my arms down. They're like, we don't want your arms to fall off. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it's all about. And then they put this big shield in between where your eyes are and where the rest of you is. And I just remember I remember sitting there and just telling myself, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be. And I remember that feeling. Tony came around and sat next to me. I remember that feeling of literally being opened up and kind of feeling jostled, and then knowing he was out of my body. And a few minutes went by, and all of a sudden Tony brought him around to me. And there he was, my little guy, my little blue pointy head, Gorillas in the Mist baby, who looks just like his father. It was the perfectly imperfect moment. And I have never been the same. And I think one of the reasons is that, it's not only that, like, my heart is outside of my body for the rest of my life, but because this is how everybody gets here. Like, I suddenly understood it on a cellular level. It was like, holy crap, this is how everybody gets here. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from or what your nationality is. This is how everybody gets here. And you know what? Women are amazing! I love men. I have no problem with them whatsoever. We could not do it without you guys. We couldn't. But truly, it's a miracle. It's a bona fide miracle. And, I feel lucky. I feel lucky. And I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite Luca-isms. So, not too long ago, he said, Mom, I don't want to grow old. And I said, well, your body's going to age. There's nothing that you can do about that. But, what you can do is you can choose to have a positive attitude. You can choose to see the beauty all around you. You can choose to try new things and be excited about learning new stuff. And that's called being young at heart. He said, Mom, I'm all filled up with young. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.